relatively remote corner of the Pacific. A small island nation rises out of the vast deep blue. Tuvalu. A Pacific paradise comprising a string of low-lying coral atolls and islands. It's one of the smallest independent nations in the world, boasting a total landmass of 26 square kilometers, with maximum heights typically ranging from 3 to 4 meters above sea level. Like its Pacific island neighbors, in Tuvalu, seawater is visible just about everywhere and plays an important role in daily life, especially in a country where fish and other marine resources are an important part of the diet. But despite being surrounded by seawater, freshwater supplies remain at the forefront of many of the challenges faced by those who live here.
We don't have any resources like rivers. The only resource we have is the rainwater. So we're depending very much on the rainwater harvest. And the setup is a bit different from the rest of like Fiji, say Samoa. We have a utility to supply the water. And the setup here is a bit different, that each household are managing their own water supplies. Unless otherwise they are short in water, then they come back to the government for water supply.
We already know on Tuvalu, water is a very precious item. So if there are changes in the climate regime that affects rainfall distribution in Tuvalu, then we are likely to face the adverse consequences.
Effectively addressing climate change and climate variability challenges in Tuvalu and finding ways of effectively adapting to their impacts is a major task involving all sectors of society.
We are going to...
In mid-2012, a climate change and media workshop conducted on Funafuti brought together participants from government, non-governmental organizations and the mainstream media, and provided an avenue to better understand and discuss climate change, its effects, and how to advocate for better climate change awareness. The initiative, part of the efforts of the European Union, funded Global Climate Change Alliance Pacific Small Island States project, which is currently being implemented in 9 Pacific Small Island states.
Project is helping countries identify focus area for adaptation and also help them implement on-the-ground activities to support the sector that they've identified. The project is funded by the European Union through SPC to the amount of 11.4 million euro, covering 9 countries. And Tuvalu is one of the small countries that is participating in this project.
Water tanks of all colors, shapes and sizes are a common sight on Tuvalu's landscape. Many of these have been provided by donor agencies over the years to meet the water needs of large households, especially on Funafuti, the nation's capital and economic hub. Funafuti has become home to almost half of the nation's estimated 11,000 population. The urban drift resulting in the significant increase in demand for water on the main atoll.
Some of the challenging new issues that are coming up is the space. If we are continue to, because population is increasing, we need to build more houses, and if the area is covered by a significant area is covered by water tanks, then that leaves us less space to make new development. Also, like the main government storage reservoirs are very limited. So when it comes to a prolonged period of 3 months, like the country can exhaust all the storage that they have. So it is an issue for the government to look at and to address at the earliest before it becomes too late.
taimi kona o taula pera ko whaingata te vai. Me te matou tani tēnā loa e tasi I te vai lasi tēnā. Tēnā te vai a mātou e olai mātou ko te tani tēnā. E sari mai te tua whare a mātou tēnei ki roto I te tani. Mā whauwhauwhua o whakamore pera ki whisosoani. Nā te whisosoani mai te kaupure o whunāwhuti. Whisosoani te mālo. Tēnā e olai mea tau vai. Ka se airoa se kongai. E mau ai se vai. I lalo nei whoki la te whenua tēnei, ko whunāwhuti. I te vai tēla e keri ki lalo I te lau kele ke maua ke te vai. E kona. Se pera mo whenua ko la mai lalo. Tani utao nanu mea whenua ko la e maua. Ka onge pēne I te vai ua. Ma whai tino inu mai lalo I te vai ko la e keri ake ki lalo I te lau kele. Ma whai o inu ia I tā ngātou. Pera lo meni whakalawelawe e tupu. Mua pera me tai mao I tausanga, pera me eolo I tausanga. A te whipakinga te vai se ai a vai ua. Ka nei aso nei pera me ko whipaki roa. Tūlanga pēnā. Se ai ni vai ua, taula e lasi, mate la kau.
Changing weather patterns resulting in prolonged dry spells and sea level rise have compounded Tuvalu's water woes. Saltwater intrusion and human activity have long contaminated the underground freshwater lens on many of the atolls. As recently as late 2011, a severe drought hit these shores, leaving Tuvalu in a state of emergency.
The climate system in the Pacific is often influenced by some major climate systems operating in the region that affect Tuvalu and other Pacific Island countries. One of the major phenomena is known as the El Nino Southern Oscillation. And during El Nino, some countries experience wet weather, rain, heavy rainfalls. And in some areas you get dry season, as was experienced in 1997-98 period. And during La Nina, which is the opposite phase of El Nino, in some of those areas you have the reverse effect of climate system within each of those countries.
I think this is one of the worst drought that we ever come across. It was really bad situation. I mean, crops are dying. The plug pitch that we have, they're all damaged. I mean, the intrusion of the salt water. From the desperation that people have, they start digging wells, and now and extract water from the underground, and it's also affecting our crops trees. It's really bad.
Desalination plants with the ability to transform the abundant seawater supply into fresh water have become a lifeline for Tuvaluans, especially during times of crisis. However, desalination plants are very energy intensive and costly to run. This portable model was donated by the New Zealand Red Cross Society to provide much needed relief during the extreme drought.
This is part of our Red Cross role to assist with the government's support to the island, and that's what the Red Cross is assisting, to deploy our desalination and also deploy our volunteers to make sure that each household receives the quantity of water per day. Our desalination can produce 2,000 liters per day. We use 10,000 liters tanks to produce to store those waters. In case of emergency, we can deploy those tanks to each island, and then we can produce water through our desalination. And there's a lot of awareness going on, and the problem is we need a lot of water storage, because we have a lot of rains coming, and then sometimes all tanks been full up, And then for the dry season, this amount of storage tank, it won't exist with the prolonged time of dry period. Yeah? So in this situation, we have rain is coming, so we make sure our water catering and also the roofing and also our water tank is be maintained. Yeah? So this is part of Red Cross role, is to do awareness program, to raise to the community, the public, to make sure all the water harvesting system are well maintained during the rainy season.
Water conservation efforts aren't only being driven at the household level. The government currently maintains an underground reservoir, and the local kaupules or town councils also have an important role to play.
We build water tanks, cement, those big ones. So during drought time, we serve those water to in buckets for those to all the household.
One of the areas we're also looking at is some of the outer islands who have viable groundwater because some of the groundwater have been ignored by people. So what we did was to try and build them properly, like put them concrete so that it won't get dirty easily. So we bought concrete to patch the groundwater, those wells, so that people will feel comfortable using it. We have traditional knowledge of managing and conserving water, so it's just a matter of reintroducing to the people and telling the stories that it is important, and there will come a time where we will need water if we don't use them wisely.
In Lofengai, located at the northern end of Funafuti, a much welcomed development is slowly taking shape. This community, considered one of the most vulnerable on Funafuti, is about to benefit from an initiative called the Pacific Adaptation to Climate Change Project, one of many water-related initiatives being implemented on the ground.
Currently, that community doesn't have a community system like other communities in country, but they rely on their households supply and the government supplies, which government supply them with this desalinated water, and with that water there comes a cost on it. Yeah, but with the different levels of people and community comes the different levels of financial difficulties. So in order to assist people in that, in all means, I would say social, financially, environmentally, PAC is looking at all those issues and came up with the idea to come up with such a reserve that would be able to supply them in extreme events.
We're planning on setting it up where the chapel is, because we see that the chapel doesn't have any water catchment. So we're planning on just at least using their roof as a water catchment and actually setting up the system to store all that water that's being harvested by the roof.
When we heard about this project, we salute and we thank God for, bringing that project to be established in our community here. But we are all praying to let that project be completed, because it will be, a big blessing to this community here.
Tuvalu's water woes are by no means new, and those who live here are well regarded as resilient people. The recent water challenges have, if anything, reinforced the importance and resolve of this island nation to use their traditional knowledge and harness the efforts of sectors of society in conserving one of life's most precious resources, water.